Hey everyone and welcome. Today we're diving into a word that pretty much all of us use, but you'd be surprised how many different meanings it can have. That word is commute. So let's get right into it. So let me just ask you, straight up, do you commute? Just take a second to think about that. How would you answer?
All right, you got your answer? Well, here's the thing. Depending on where you grew up or where you learned English, that simple yes or no might mean something completely different to the person you're talking to, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
Yeah, it's a surprisingly tricky question. We're going to explore how this one super common word can lead to some real miscommunication, especially in conversations between, say, American English speakers and Filipino English speakers. It's a fantastic example of how language isn't static. It changes and evolves.
It really is a tale of two Englishes, you know? We're about to see how this single word has kind of split off into two different paths, and knowing both is honestly the key to making sure everyone's on the same page.
Okay, so here it is side by side. In American English, a commute is all about that regular trip between your home and your job. The whole focus is on the purpose of the journey. But in Filipino English, it often describes the method you're using, especially if you're taking public transportation, no matter where you're headed.
To make this crystal clear, let's think about it this way: the what versus the how. This little framework is going to help us bust a really common myth that a lot of people believe, that driving and commuting are somehow opposites.
So the what is the journey itself. In American English, the commute is that routine trip you make between home and work. That's the core action, the what you are doing.
And all of these are the how. This is how you complete your commute. Driving a car, hopping on a bus, riding your bike, even walking. These aren't the opposite of commuting, they're just the different methods you can use to commute. See the difference?
And this is where it all comes to a head. When one person asks, "Do you commute?" they might be asking, "Do you travel from home to a workplace?" But the other person might hear, "Do you take the bus or the train?" It's two totally different questions hiding inside the exact same words.
Which brings us to the big myth-busting moment. You can absolutely 100% commute in your own car. A native American English speaker would totally say something like, "My commute is terrible, it takes me an hour to drive to work," or "I commute by car."
All right, enough theory. Let's put this into practice. What do you say? We're going to do a quick quiz to see if you've got this down. You ready?
Okay, here's the first scenario. Someone says, "I'm going to commute to the mall." Is that a correct sentence in standard American English? I'm going to give you 10 seconds to think about it. Ready? Go.
Okay, time's up. The answer is incorrect. And why? Because remember, in American English, the definition is super specific. The destination has to be your place of work. You just say, "I'm going to the mall," or "I'm driving to the mall."
Nice. Let's try one more. This one's a little trickier. Someone asks you, "Do you commute?" Now, you happen to drive your own car to your office every single day. So, is the correct answer yes? I'll give you another 10 seconds.
And the answer is correct. Yes, because the question is about the what. Do you travel to a workplace? Not the how. Since you do in fact travel to work, you commute. Driving is just your method. See? You're getting it.
Now, I know this might feel like a tiny detail, but understanding this nuance is actually really important, especially if you work in an international company or travel a lot. It's all about moving from that awkward moment of confusion to real easy clarity.
So let's just recap the big points. For American English, commute is that journey to and from work. For Filipino English, it's often about the method, usually public transport. We totally busted the myth that driving isn't commuting. It is. And a little pro tip for you. If you're in a global business setting, sticking to that American English definition is probably your safest bet to avoid any mix-ups.
And that's our deep dive into the true meaning of commute. It kind of leaves me wondering, what other simple, everyday words have tripped you up in English? Language is just full of these fascinating little quirks, and exploring them is really how we get better. Thanks so much for joining me.